What's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrifice my time so you don't have to. Allow me to indulge you guys in the recap of everything that happened last night on Forbidden Door, outside of, the actual matches that had nothing to do with the main event. Meaning, we're gonna talk about the only thing that mattered in regards to the show, which was the main event. Not Britt Baker. No one gave a shit about Britt Baker, but the AEW fans. I'm sorry, I know you guys don't like to hear that, but that happens to be the case, right? Yeah, some fine matches, some solid matches. I thought, Bryan Danielson versus Goku was a fine match. I didn't have any problems with that match whatsoever. There was some solid stuff, but no one cared because you can get these matches, probably even better type of matches, on Collision, on Rampage, let alone Dynamite. What I do want to focus on, though, it's the match last night between Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. Now, just to reiterate my point one more time for some of the people who didn't catch last night's review, which, by the way, grow some hair on your balls, go check out that review. It's posted right there when you first click on my channel. You can see it. It's like the heading. You just click on the video, stop being a little bitch. It's Will Ospreay and the way he performed. Now, for some people, that might not be that big of a deal. It's AEW in the end of the day. In fact, it's 2024. What the fuck is a finisher anymore, right? Well, see, the problem with that is Swerve Strickland, he's your world champion, right? And you may say to yourself still, like, well, Devontae, what's really the fucking big deal in the end of the day, okay? It's AEW. It's 2024 wrestling. Who cares? I see where you're going with this. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be saying stupid shit like that. Swerve Strickland is, in fact, your world champion. Been world champion for about 3 months now, right? He's the guy who should be pulling, the horse's carriage, the one who has the most mainstream appeal, at least in between him and Will Ospreay. So why was Will Ospreay kicking out of every single one of Swerve Strickland's moves? Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. I mean, he kicked out of at least 6 finishers. And you may say to yourself again, one more time, Devontae is AEW. Has it ever been the case where they did this much to protect someone against their world champion? Let me say this again. Has it ever been this much to protect someone against the world champion? Maybe you didn't hear that right in the back, because I understand some of you guys have a really weird conception of what booking means in 2024. Have you ever seen someone protect a challenger in the way of how they did Will Ospreay against Swerve Strickland? If it wasn't for the amount of kickouts, if it wasn't for the fact that the booking in itself made Will Ospreay, I mean, obviously, I like to say that he lost clean, but you can make an argument, well, Devontae, the distraction, him not focusing on the match, unfortunately, rest in peace to his grandmother, him using the sympathy, you could probably say something on the lines of, oh, he was distracted because of this, that, and the third. Now, we take all of that stuff that happened in the match last night as far as making Will Ospreay seem like he's fucking Superman, because that's what it is, and then we take into account the pops that he's been getting these past couple of weeks, right? Now, I say this one more time. What does Will Ospreay offer? I'm very confused. He is very basic in the things that he can do, things that you should be able to do in professional wrestling. I think, honestly, and this is a professional wrestling that's been built up for the past couple of years, they took away the aesthetic of all the things that made professional wrestling great. So all these wrestlers, whenever they do the bare minimum of what would have been constituted as just something that's the norm a couple of years ago, they do even just that at the bare minimum. They're considered some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, right? Oh, this guy can go out there and he can cut a promo, dude. Back in 1989, there was nobody on the Mid-South territory who didn't know how to fucking cut a promo. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, this guy can go out there and he can do this and he can do that, he can do this, he can do that. That was the bare minimum that allowed you to be a professional wrestler even 15 years ago, and you guys are acting like it's the biggest thing in the fucking world. You know what I mean? You get 3 girls in the ring kissing and doing shit like that, which is hot, which is awesome, don't get it twisted, and they lose their fucking minds, right? Never mind the fact that we have bikini contest and girls shaking their asses and Tori Wilson kissing literally every fucking woman on the roster. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You get excited about the bare minimum things that happen to be the foundation of professional wrestling a couple of years ago. And that's when I look at Will Ospreay and it's like, dude, I like Will Ospreay. I don't have a problem with Will Ospreay. But this constant going out of your way to protect him and present him as something that he is not is as if they're trying to tell us that this guy happens to be the John Cena of AEW, right? Is that not what you get from this? He's the John Cena of AEW. Now, see, the problem with that, and look, Over the years, yes, John Cena got really stale over the years. And now we can look back retrospectively and we can say that, yeah, he had an awesome career. But don't get it twisted, right? There was a certain point in time around the mid-2000s, maybe around the late like 2007-ish, maybe even late 2006-ish, where Cena hit a point going forward for about a decade where, yes, he was incredibly stale. Yes, he was incredibly boring in some aspects. But make no mistake about it, the fundamentals that Cena was doing as far as what made him become a professional wrestler, no other wrestler can do it like him, at least at the time, right? There is no wrestler who could be as coherent, so goddamn, and I always like this about John Cena, it's not just the wittiness, but how quick he was on his feet when it came to the comebacks. No matter how lame or cringe you may think it is, for him to just come back as if like, you know, like, bro, like, were you thinking this off the top of your head? Did you know what I was gonna say when doing the promo? You know what I mean? He is really fucking witty and very man, it's almost like a reflex with his brain when it comes to talking about his promos or going back and forth with people. It's a gift, it's a talent. I don't see too many talents who can do what John Cena can do in the microphone. Honestly, he's really fucking good. Even at his most embarrassing points, still super duper fucking good. But I guess that comes from the mind of a person who can freestyle, right? Because that's how John Cena got over initially, right, with everybody, was the fact that he can go out there, he took risk, he was a trendsetter in some regards in professional wrestling, the things that he was doing from a merchandise standpoint, the way he carried himself, the fact that he was just in tune with pop culture at the time, to that level was never seen by a professional wrestler. Honestly, even Austin at that point in time wasn't necessarily what I would say was on point with pop culture. You know what I mean? Yes, Austin did have the mannerisms. Yes, he stuck his middle finger. Yes, he was rebellious. His mannerisms coincided with pop culture at the time, as far as, you know, the rebellious Generation X, mid-90s, late 90s, early 2000s mystique. I get that. But I mean in terms of fashion, in terms of lingo, in terms of what he was doing in mainstream, I don't think anyone, even at this point in time, has really done what John Cena has done to correlate easily with pop culture at the time, right? The G-Unit stuff with the C Nation, you know, the fitted, you know, the shorts, the shoes, the style, everything. John Cena was the only wrestler who I ever seen as a top guy who perfectly mirrored what pop culture was doing at the time. And then as time went on, he got stale. Even though he got stale, he was still the kind of guy to carry the company on his shoulders in the way that he did it, and he excelled at it. I look at someone like a Will Ospreay and I gotta ask, what is that? Like, what does he do that is, you know, similar to anything that I just mentioned with John Cena? Does anyone see it? I can't be the only one who doesn't see it, right? Like, they're presenting Will Ospreay like he's a top guy, which is fine. I don't mind the aesthetic of pushing him like he's a top guy. I don't see what's wrong with that. But you should do stuff to get us engaging with his character to make us believe that he merits that position. Like the whole entire aesthetic that I get from a Will Ospreay when looking at how he's being promoted by Tony Khan in AEW is simply he can do things in the ring that no other man can do, and therefore he should be pushed in that manner. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. The way you protected him in the match with Swerve Strickland, I don't think is merited at all, considering that he hasn't brought anything to the table to distinguish himself as that person who represents that type of entitlement. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, when Bret Hart went out of his way to protect Stone Cold Steve Austin along with the company, you know, him bleeding on the mat during the submission match and never quitting or tapping out, and he just passed out in the pool of his blood, it's because at the bare minimum, from a business standpoint, you can see the marketability behind a Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? And as far as the audience is considered, you can relate to Stone Cold Steve Austin in a multiple amount of ways, even before he became the anti-authority guy, right? At that point in time, he's just a pissed off guy who wants to find his way to the top, and he's a tough son of a bitch, and you ain't gonna fucking do anything to mold him or break him or make him say, I quit. You know, that's the kind of aesthetic that Stone Cold Steve Austin represented, that you can look at and say to yourself, oh, okay, well, I can see why you're protecting that guy, because he's obviously going to be really big one of these days, and he ended up being one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, right? There's a lot of wrestlers who you can look at that and say to yourself, there are so many things from a relatability standpoint that I would like to akin to television, right? It's like that side character that you look at and you say to yourself, oh, there's a good opportunity that you're going to have a nice spin-off, right? So maybe we should kind of give you some storylines, some plot devices in order to get people to engage even more with your character than they already are doing right now. It was the initial setup of them engaging with your character that made us want to do this to begin with. So maybe we should start giving you more dialogue, more side plots, more storylines, hell, maybe even some of the main plot lines along with the main character, because it looks like we're going to do a spin-off with you and you're going to have your own television show for people to focus on you, right? But that's because you showed that growth. I don't see that growth in a Will Ospreay to merit any of this. The way you had him positioned last night in that match will make you believe that, okay, well, he's not going to be a world champion right now, but there's a good shot that someday he's going to be a world champion. And I'm trying to see why. See, as much as you can hate a Swerve Strickland, look, you can hate him all you want to, right? At least there's something about Swerve Strickland. Now, granted, he's lacking a bunch of stuff. I'm not really that big of a fan when it comes to Swerve's mic work, right? I wish he would slow down in the ring, but that goes for most professional wrestlers nowadays. But aesthetically, optically, what I see in Swerve Strickland, I see a guy who does mirror pop culture to a certain degree. I don't think to the degree of John Cena back in the days, but he does mirror pop culture as far as how he dresses, as far as the music, as far as how he carries himself. There's something about Swerve Strickland that if you actually went out of your way to market him more, you give him more screen time, you prioritize him a little bit more, there's something that you can get out of that character to make him represent your company in the appropriate manner. There are a bunch of things in regards to a Swerve Strickland that I look at and I say, well, yeah, that guy can absolutely be the face of the company. And if the roles were reversed, I can see why you would go out of your way to protect the Swerve Strickland. You don't want him to beat your world champion because you want your world champion to still be world champion for multiple reasons, but at the same time, you want to be able to protect him as much as humanly possible because you do have things that you want to deal with him, and the protection of him is what's going to get him even more over, right? Will Ospreay going out like he did, the cultivation as far as what even gave him a reason to go after the world championship, right? The guy literally being handed every single fucking thing. Like really, from the international championship, this dude won two of your only casino gauntlet matches. These are gauntlet matches. This isn't even a situation where it's an elimination and you can say that the guy had to hold his own in order to, get the win. No, we have like multiple, like 12, half a dozen people inside the ring, bro. Well, not half a dozen people, 13, 14, 15 people in the ring. And the rules are very much like a triple threat or a fatal four-way match. And they're coming out in time intervals, meaning the rules can be that it could be a triple threat match and they can get pinned right then and there. And you could be number 18 or something and it wouldn't have even fucking mattered. The chances of, like, realistically looking at that, the chances of someone winning a casino gauntlet with how retarded its rules are, because it's literally one of the most unfairest matches I can ever think of. Literally, a guy can get pinned in a one-on-one match when there's 20 guys lined up to get ready to go out of the ring in intervals. It's one of the most unfairest fucking matches you could possibly goddamn think of. And not only did he win one match to get a title shot for one championship, and then he wins said title, but you also put him in the second time and he wins that match also? Like, what the fuck? That's like winning a lottery twice in a row, bro. But that's what I'm saying, though. I can understand a top guy. It would still be one of those situations because the hypocrisy when it was happening with John Cena or Randy Orton, for an example, back in the days. I think you guys remember how many people were saying that they were being shoved down our throats, right? And rightfully so, because that absolutely was the fucking case. You literally had John Cena and Randy Orton teaming up at one point in time to take out the entire roster along with Triple H, right? I can understand why people will say to themselves like, oh yeah, you're really shoving Cena and Orton down our fucking throats. But aesthetically, you can see why they're doing it. You can disagree with it. You don't have to like it, but you can easily understand and wrap your head around why they're doing it, right? And it paid off in dividends. Look at where their careers are at right now, and look at where WWE is at right now, right? These guys are legends. But when I look at someone like a Will Ospreay, I say to myself, what has he done to get that, to merit any of that? He's only been with your company, let alone probably 3 or 4 months now, maybe 5 months, give or take, and I'm being generous with that. He has had one-off appearances in the past couple of years, and you're giving him this John Cena-esque type of push in AEW, and I'm just not wrapping my mind or my head around it. And it's coming at the expense of a lot of talented guys who, in my opinion, if you did the right things, you could really do a lot to push their careers in spite of a Will Ospreay, who he himself could be finding another character to get himself in the correct position. And the sad thing about it is, I look at this no different than a Mercedes Moné. I'm truly baffled how AEW fans, or how professional wrestling fans in general, I'm not even going to put this on AEW fans, I think they're retarded as fuck too, but the cognitive dissonance of some wrestling fans to say something about one superstar but then look at another superstar and then just literally not even fucking pay any mind to it whatsoever. Not even cognitive dissonance, I wouldn't even say that, that's probably not the appropriate usage of the word. Let's just stop being smart here and let's just say double standard, right? Because that's what it is. It's a humongous double standard. How the fuck do you get mad? Because I will presume the whole thing around Mercedes Moné obviously is not just because of her arrogant attitude, which I'm not stupid, obviously that's why people hate her for the most part, but honestly, right, the stuff that Mercedes Moné has been given as far as opportunities are considered out of nowhere without doing any of the fucking work. I mean, how many matches has she had on television? Less than 4? I think that's what they said at the press conference, right, last night, less than 4. And the only 2 matches I can remember her being in on pay-per-view so far was one for the, automatically getting a shot at Willow Nightingale's championship belt, right? She gets that belt and then she goes to another match, then she wins another. She's a double champion after 4 matches. How is it appropriate booking? And here's the thing, that's bad. And I see people on Twitter who are saying things like, okay, yeah, from a booking standpoint, this is why we don't like Mercedes Moné. It's not just the attitude is just a cherry on top of everything else, right? But how do you look at something like that, right? How do you get upset at people like Mercedes Moné and because of how you feel about her and how she's getting opportunities because of her creative control, right? This is all happening at the expense of a Willow Nightingale. This is why most people are upset with Mercedes Moné, on top of the attitude, obviously, that she gets off as far as her character is considered, because she comes off super fucking cocky. Even though that was never a problem for anybody else before, it's just a problem right now because you're starting to realize what the fuck is going on. But why is that okay, right? That's okay to hate. That's okay to boo her out of the fucking building, which, by the way, I wholeheartedly agree. And by the way, like I said last night, Mercedes Moné absolutely needs to turn heel this upcoming Wednesday. But when it's a Will Ospreay, we overlook all this stuff because he says bruv? Huh? Because he says bruv? We have a guy who's just as cocky as Mercedes Moné. Am I wrong to say that? Huh? Did you see what he did last Wednesday when MJF was offering a title shot to Daniel Garcia? Then he walks out there and he just looks past MJF for no reason? What the hell did MJF do to him? He looked, what, because MJF made a couple of comments? That's enough to look past MJF and then go straight to Daniel Garcia and try to one-up him? How's that not cocky, huh? Or are we going to talk about the fact with Swerve Strickland? How he just took his belt out of his hand? Huh? How's that not cocky, huh? Really? But we look past all that, right? We look past all that. The fact that he could say that I'm gonna not use a move because I know this move is going to end you. How fucking cocky is that, bro? How cocky is that? I'm gonna hold back every match so I don't really hurt you. Get the fuck out of here. Look how much like a crybaby bitch you was acting last night. Did you see what happened after the Double or Nothing stuff? When you had Kyle Fletcher and everybody walking him out of the ring because he lost his one and only match. He's only lost one match in AEW and he acts like he lost the entire fucking world. He couldn't even handle one fucking loss. From a character standpoint, Will Ospreay, if not more, is just as arrogant as a Mercedes Moné, and given the same exact type of opportunities over and over and over again, and booked to look like a fucking superhero when in reality, he hasn't done anything to merit any of these attributes and any of these accolades, and more importantly, any of these situations and circumstances that he happens to be in right now. Literally, the only reason why you're doing it is because you like the way he wrestles, and that's from a personal perspective. That's not even objective. That is subjective, because there are some people who don't like how Will Ospreay wrestles, but you like how he wrestles, and therefore that is supposed to be definitive as to why he's in the John Cena-esque position without being the world champion while actively undercutting your world champion at the moment. It makes no sense to me. I disagree with the entire premise. I like Will Ospreay, but Swerve Strickland right now is your world champion. So how about we put a little bit more time and effort into the world champion currently at the moment, who have yet to book in an appropriate manner, who now, right now, Sorry, I see a car coming right now at the moment. Holy shit, dude, your car cannot be any more louder than you wanted to fucking man. But my point being is, Swerve Strickland right now is your world champion, so he should be your priority. And people are like, Devontae, you're coming up like a fucking Swerve Strickland fanboy at the moment. Is it really a fucking Swerve Strickland thing? No, it's just me being observant, right? I don't care who happens to be in that position, right? If you do the things that coincides with mainstream and if pro wrestling is doing the thing that coincides with mainstream, and the guy is the world champion in that position that's coincided with mainstream, then it only makes sense to put the guy in that position, not the guy who hasn't done anything to even merit any of that, but you're going to pretend that he's John Cena. Makes no sense to me. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I got to get ready to get the fuck up out of here because, well, it's almost 10 o'clock in the morning and I have to get ready to go to work. So, there we go. Damn. You guys are probably going to get this video around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. By that point, I'm already at work. But I still want to hear your thoughts down below. As always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. A deuces and a P eyes.